Minister Ram Bahadur Thapa has blamed the Netra Bikram Chand Biplav outfit for being an obstacle in protecting democracy and federalism in the country. Minister Thapa informed that around 600 cadres of the Biplav-led outfit have been arrested to control illegal and terrorist activities. Good morning, I'm Amit Bakarel, and let's begin with the top stories of this hour. Government continues the trend of violating budget discipline. Around 20 billion rupees issued in the last month of the previous fiscal year against the regulation. Former CPN UML and CPN Maoist factions within the ruling NCP squabble over who leads the school department. The latest row threatens the agreement reached between the leadership. Newly appointed UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson to begin the process of forming his government today after swearing-in ceremony. And Nepal taking on Malaysia in the second ICC T20 World Cup qualifier later today. Let's begin with the national political updates. The government had bridged the budget regulation and transferred 19.61 billion rupees last month. Based on the records, the government has transferred budget 245 times in the last month of the previous fiscal year alone to make use of the budget. The budget for the previous fiscal year did not include the budget for procuring aircrafts for Nepal Army. However, the Finance Ministry issued a payment of more than 1.3 billion rupees in Nepal Army's name to purchase a fixed-wing aircraft. The ministry put the payment under the category of unexpected expenses. The ministry also issued more than 2.8 billion rupees for Nepal Police the previous month. Likewise, the ministry invested 5 billion rupees for shares at the Nepal Electricity Authority. Under the same category of unexpected expenses, the ministry issued 350 million rupees for monorail and metro rail projects. That is 321.7 million rupees for the Kathmandu Valley Development Authority and another 211.3 million rupees for the National Reconstruction Authority to provide allowances to its staff. Meanwhile, the Public Expenditure Review Commission formed by the government itself has suggested the government not to transfer any budget in last month of the previous fiscal year. It may be recalled that Finance Minister Yuvraj Khattiura had committed in implementing the Commission's recommendations while announcing the budget for previous fiscal year. However, the Minister himself has failed to live up to its words. There is a provision in the fiscal policy that allows for using up to 10% of the development budget to expedite development projects, even in the last month of fiscal year. However, the amount from the development budget has been used in purchasing vehicles and for staff facilities. The Finance Ministry has issued 330.3 million rupees last month for 11 of the government units to purchase vehicles. These units include the Parliament Secretariat, various commissions, the Home Ministry, the Office of the Attorney General, among others. It has been found out that the government has issued payments in the last month of the previous fiscal year as one of its many last-ditch efforts to use up the budget for the year. The government has flouted the directives issued by the Office of the Auditor General and the parliamentary committees to act against the budget regulation and continue with the malpractices seen in previous fiscal years. There is a growing dispute within the ruling Nepal Communist Party regarding who will lead the school department, adding to already rife issues within the party. The level of understanding reached between the chairman duo KP Sharma Oli and Puspa Kamal Dahal seems affected, as the former CPN UML and CPN Maoist factions are both eyeing on leading the department themselves. Both the former UML and Maoist Center factions believe the school department is the best channel to disseminate the party's principles to the party cadres, which will help make the faction stronger in the party's upcoming General Assembly. Based on the agreement struck between the chairman duo earlier during the party's unification, out of the 5 important departments, the school department, foreign and organizational departments would be given to the former CPN UML faction, while the Maoist Center faction would look after the party's finance and promotions. Based on the agreement, the former UML faction had recommended Ishwar Bokrail to lead the department. However, the Maoist Center faction has also stepped up to claim the department's leadership. The CPN Maoist faction has put forth leader Narayan Kazi Shrestha's name to lead the department, adding to the dispute between the leadership, as it is against the agreement struck earlier. The former CPN Maoist faction has claimed the department, citing the former UML faction as more important departments under its name. Analysts are of the view that the former Maoist faction within the ruling Nepal Communist Party has doubts over Pokhrel's leadership, giving a stance on the public's multi-party mandate. Discussions were also held to settle the disputes for the time being by giving the responsibilities to the chairman duo of a third person. Home Minister Ram Bahadur Thapa has said that the Netra Vikram Chand-led outfit has posed serious challenge for the government in protecting democracy and federalism. Speaking at an interaction held at the Home Ministry yesterday, Minister Thapa said the government is struggling to protect the democratic and federal state structure achieved after people's movement and sacrifices.
संघीयता संघीय लोकतान्त्रिक गणतन्त्रको रक्षा गर्ने यसलाई चाहिँ सुदृढ गर्ने चाहिँ यो हाम्रो राजनीतिक स्थायित्वसित चाहिँ जोडिएको छ यो हाम्रो राजनीतिक उपलब्धिसित जोडिएको छ त्यसकारणले यसमा एउटा चुनौती हामीलाई अहिले निश्चित रूपमा चाहिँ विप्लव समूहबाट भएको छ.
Minister Thapa assured the government is taking necessary initiatives to solve the issue through dialogues.
गरिरहेका छौं यो भन्दा अगाडि पनि हामीले वार्ता टोली बनाएका थियौं र हामीले त्यस किसिमको प्रयास हामीले गरेका थियौं तर यहाँसम्म आइपुग्दाखेरि उनीहरु वार्ताद्वारा शान्तिपूर्ण ढंगले यो समस्यालाई हल गर्ने र आफ्ना कुराहरुलाई चाहिँ शान्तिपूर्ण ढंगले जनताको बीचमा लैजाने र आफ्नो राजनीतिक उद्देश्यहरु पूरा गर्ने यसमा अहिले पनि उनीहरु त निष्कर्षमा पुगेका छैनन्. हुन त अब अहिले जो हामीले सुनिरहेका छौं विभिन्न रूपबाट उनीहरु वार्तामा आउने एउटा प्रक्रियामा छन् र उनीहरुले केही शर्तहरु राखेका छन् भन्ने कुरा पनि आएको छ तर औपचारिक रूपमा अहिले उनीहरुको त्यो प्रस्ताव हामीसँग आइपुगेको छैन.
Minister Thapa also stated that the government had arrested around 600 cadres of the Chand-led outfit to control illegal and terrorist activities. Meanwhile, in the context of update on identifying the culprit behind the rape and murder of Kantipur's child Nirmala Panta, Minister Thapa said the struggle was a result of negligences made during initial investigation. At the program, Home Secretary Prem Bahadur Rai claimed that organized gold smuggling had been controlled while the government had ended the transport syndicate, controlled human trafficking and made improvements in the immigration process. There seems to be lack of coordination between the central and provincial governments regarding the development of the railway infrastructure. As the provincial government is pushing forward the process for construction of a monorail, the central government has initiated a study for the construction of a metro rail at the same place. In order to construct a 27-kilometer-long monorail on Kathmandu's Ring Road, according to an agreement reached by the Kathmandu Metropolitan City and the Lalitpur Metropolitan City offices, the preparation of a detailed project report is in its final stage. Meanwhile, the Department of Railway is planning to construct a monorail, a metro rail at the same place for which the department is in the process of selecting a company to prepare a DPR. There is confusion whether to construct a monorail or a metro rail on the Ring Road. According to the preliminary estimate given by the Chinese government company which is preparing the DPR, the construction of the monorail will be complete within 3 years at an expense of 1.3 trillion rupees. The Department of Railway, however, has not prepared an estimated cost for the construction of the metro rail. Meanwhile, the department is spending 150 million rupees to prepare the DPR. The central and provincial governments are in a rush to push their projects forward instead of deciding what is best for the long-term management of the public transportation in Kathmandu. All the levels of the government, officials and the concerned authorities should carry out a detailed study and decide what is best for the city and its people. And time now for a short break. For more news, do stay with us. Welcome back after the break. 11 people died in Gulmi after being buried in landslide debris, while 2 people have been injured. Chief District Officer Yadinath Paudel has informed that 8 people of the same family were killed in Limga of Satyavati Rural Municipality, while 2 others were killed at Tulolumpek Kasintara. 65-year-old Charlie BK, 28-year-old Pampa BK and 12-year-old Anjali BK, 10-year-old Hemanta BK and 4 others of the same family were killed in the landslide in Limga. The deceased in the landslide at Tulolumpek Kasintara has been identified as 32-year-old Tilkumari Tramu and a 9-year-old son Darshan Tramu. Rudra Bikhi's wife and daughter have also gone missing after their house in Tulu, Lumpik was swept away. Chief District Officer Podel has informed that efforts are being made to retrieve the dead bodies and to search for the missing. Meanwhile, a person has been killed in landslide in Chiamiria, Pagung district. The police have identified the deceased as 17-year-old Sita Gautam. Meanwhile, 2 people were killed and 5 others were injured in an accident involving an 18-wheeler Indian container truck and 8 other vehicles near Hetora's Surimaya on the east-west highway yesterday. The accident took place when the 18-wheeler truck carrying 30 tons of electrical goods lost control and overturned. The container of the truck fell on a motorcycle and an auto rickshaw, killing 2 people. One of the deceased has been identified as auto rickshaw driver Susan Kumar Takal of Basamadi of Hetoras of Metropolis 3. The identity of the other deceased is yet to be determined. Out of the 5 people injured in the accident, 1 person is undergoing treatment at Ture Hill Hospital. Rest of the injured have returned home after receiving minor treatment. The driver of the Indian truck is absconding and police have informed that a search for the driver is on. In our Public Voice segment, we had asked the students in Taplejung why have they traveled from distant villages to the district headquarters, Phongling. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
Public Voice.
एसई को तयारी गर्नको लागि आको अब घरमा बसेर असार सालको बेलामा राम्रो पढ्न पाइँदैन त्यसैले
काम गरेर गरिन्छ धेरै बेर पढ्न सकिदैन राम्रो अध्ययन गर्न सकिदैन त्यही भएर चाहिँ बजार आको
1-1.5 महिना बिदा हुन्छ अनि समयको बचत गर्नु भनेर पढ्न
राम्रो पढाइ छ कि हाम्रो स्कुलमा अनि त्यसैले यहाँ पढ्न आको
शिक्षकहरू टाढाको हुनुहुन्छ के अनि त्यही भएर आफ्नो आफ्नो गाउँमा जानुहुन्छ त्यही भएर स्कुलमा शिक्षकहरू हुनुहुन्न त्यही भएर यहाँ हामी ट्युसन पढ्न आएको
It's now time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
And the question is, what you say on pushing forward plans to construct monorail and metro rail and Kathmandu's ring road? And options are A, aspiration for development, B, lack of coordination, and C, dreaming big. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B, or C, and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Now the sports update.
Sports news.
Nepal is taking on Malaysia today in the second match under the ICC T20 World Cup qualifiers. The match is slated to be held at the Indian Association Ground in Singapore. The match is a must-win for Nepal due to being defeated against Qatar in the first match by 4 wickets yesterday. Malaysia had defeated Kuwait by 42 runs in its inaugural match. Nepal should win all the remaining matches to secure its berth in the global qualifiers. Nepal had undergone 10 days of training in Malaysia before heading for Singapore for the tournament. And it's now time for our special segment, Laugh Out Loud.
President of the main opposition Nepali Congress and former Prime Minister Sherbahadur Deuba has alleged the government of trying to tap phones. So does it mean that the phone tapping allegations previously heard only in US politics and political wrangling in European countries such as Germany and France is also going to hit Nepalese political circle? The former Premier Deuba, in defense of his allegations, said that the government had tabled the mass communication bill in a bid to, what he said, clamp down on the public statements against the government. Deuba further clarified, saying that if the bill was approved, it would have the provision to tap any individual's phone calls the government deemed a threat or a stumbling stone to the ongoing anarchic modus operandi of the government. In a bizarre incident involving the country's national sport volleyball, India have refused to send their national volleyball team to compete against their Nepalese counterpart. The incident raised many eyebrows as India had earlier committed to send their team to compete against Nepal. However, with all preparations completed, India dispatched a letter to the Volleyball Association in Nepal saying that it was reluctant to send their team. The most bizarre or humiliating has been the reason cited by the India Volleyball Association, which said that Nepalese volleyball standard was not good enough and that volleyball matches between the teams would be a no contest. However, following objections raised by Nepal, the Volleyball Association in India said that the move was prompted to save their players from any kind of injury as the Indian team was in a closed camp training for Asian Games. This is Prarambha Tahal for Kantipur News Desk.
And before we wrap up, a reminder of the top stories. Government continues the trend of violating budget discipline. Around 20 billion rupees issued in the last month of the previous fiscal year against deregulation. Former UML and former Mao Center factions within the ruling NCP squabble over who leads the school department. The latest row threatens the agreement risk between the leadership. Newly appointed UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson to begin the process of forming his government today after swearing-in ceremony. And Nepal taking on Malaysia in the second ICC T20 World Cup qualifier later today. And that's all for this hour. Keep watching Kantipur Television SD for more news and entertainment. Have a good day.